My only takeaway of this is that Racquel dreams about me. I knew that I didn't always want to be the center of attention, believe it or not. This person accidentally sent me a DM that was meant for someone else talking about me.
No.
You can't just cancel someone because of something they did 10 years ago. Did you just admit to sending nudes 15 years ago?
Where's the tequila shot?
She's ready. All right, so I'm super excited. We both are really excited about having this next guest on this episode number Lucky 13. He's one of my good friends. His name is Erik Zachary. You guys have probably seen his face before. He's a radio personality, a TV host, digital host. He now has his own show called Beyond the Front Row on YouTube Live, and I have made some appearances on it. Erik, welcome to Millennial Girls podcast.
What an intro. I thought you had to be a millennial girl to be on the podcast, or I would have requested that I was on a much earlier episode than 13.
I mean,
no? Okay.
You're just trying to...
Erik, you are a millennial girl.
Let's be honest, I am. I am the biggest NSYNC fan that you will ever meet, so I think that I fall into the proper category.
He has like choreographed dances, Natasha. If you guys haven't watched our Instagram lives, you should. Thursday at 8 p.m. Actually, it's going to be 9 now. EST.
Yes.
Erik likes to jump in on the comments.
Are you using me to promote your Instagram lives? You are.
Low-key. Anyway.
Okay, you know what? Continue. Sorry.
Here we go.
I'm very bad at getting interviewed, and this is what happens every time you're an interviewer for as long as you've been doing it that I have. You're really bad at when people ask you questions, and I have a tendency to take over. So I'm gonna try not to do that. I'm sorry.
Dude, that's why I was so awkward on Friday.
Look, I'm ready to go get my tequila bottle. I mean, we're supposed to have shots on this episode, aren't we?
I didn't hear shots. I heard drinks. And even then, it's 1 p.m. while we're recording this on a Monday. So like how unproductive do you want me to be today? I'll do one shot with you guys, but I feel like it shouldn't be like right off the bat.
I'll do a shot with you at the end.
Okay,
How about that?
Deal. In the meantime, I'm gonna drink my basic
You guys can have fun
Starbucks.
doing that.
Yeah, right.
Because I was quite intoxicated on Erik's
Were
live
you?
on Friday, but we're not going to talk about that.
I couldn't tell.
No, just a little bit. Anyway, so Erik, we're going to talk about content creation today because obviously you launched your own show. We launched this podcast during quarantine, and a lot of people have been messaging me, I'm sure also you, about content creation, creating your own show. I've wanted to do this, but I'm scared. And I think now with cancel culture, it's kind of scary to take that leap of faith because within 3 seconds of something being up, the comments could be really mean, horrible, and it puts a damper on everything, right? Like you have so much fun and you're so proud of something, but you get 2 bad comments and you're like, well, shit, this is horrible. Obviously, there's always going to be those negative people, but I feel like because people are so bored and there's nothing else to do than be on social media right now, cancel culture is kind of skewing content creators' ability.
Totally. Yeah. It's a barricade that, because social media has gone through so many evolutions just in the last decade alone. Like at first it started like, oh, there's no repercussions of putting my life on the internet. And I think we're all around the same age. It was right around like college when we started to realize, oh no, those pictures, even if you delete them from MySpace, people can still find, which is an issue. And then it evolved into, okay, well, let's make our thoughts known. Let's put them on Twitter. And then Twitter's coming back to bite a lot of people in the ass right now too, because of tweets from 7, 8, 9 years ago, which, hopefully don't reflect who anyone is now because everyone changes with time. But yeah, it's scary. It's scary now, not so much for me to put out content in the present. It's terrifying when something from your past gets brought up that does not represent who you are anymore.
Me and Natasha talked about this too, just when we were around Miami doing promo pictures for Millennial Girls. She was like, I have stuff on Facebook or the internet that I don't want people to see, and now I have to go back and find it. And even, when I got the job with the Florida Panthers, I went back through my Twitter. I mean, I made my Twitter senior year of high school. Obviously, I was tweeting about just immature, stupid stuff. Not necessarily bad things, but it's just not a reflection of who you are 10 years later. Right. So I think, like you said, that's coming back a lot to bite people in the ass. But it's just still, I don't know about you. I mean, I did a video recently with our mutual friend, Brooke Brooke, and she's on air. She's a radio personality.
Did you just say
And
Brooke?
even the both of
I'm
us,
sorry,
when
I
she's-
can't let that slide. Brooke.
No,
Brooke.
I know. Sorry.
Yes.
Brooke,
Yes.
comma. But this is our relationship, guys. He just makes fun of me all the time. The both of us, even we were like, oh God, anxiety about posting this video because we were doing a reaction to K-pop, and those stands are intense, and we didn't want to be torn apart and canceled, so you say. So it's just, I mean, I don't know how you feel about, obviously, Beyond the Front Row. His show it's a happy place, but we do talk about, controversial issues. Do you ever have that thought going into a show?
Every day.
Like, maybe we shouldn't touch that, or we got to just do it?
I've gotten over the maybe we shouldn't touch that. If the current social justice fight and the climate of Black Lives Matter and everything associated with it has taught me anything, it's that you're never going to be right in everyone's eyes, right? And as someone that's a very privileged white straight male, I was afraid of, like, how do I talk about this, especially on my show that's supposed to be dedicated to music. And it took a couple friends in my ear and a lot of self-reflection to realize, you're not going to make everyone happy. It's more of a responsibility to yourself to talk about it. So yeah, I definitely had to get over that when it comes to, like, not even something as heavy as Black Lives Matter, as just like, let's talk about I don't know, who doesn't have a scandal right now. I don't want to say any real person. Let's say Michael Ray and Carly Pierce. So you don't want to talk about something that's real. But you also if you want to be taken seriously, and I think right now more than ever, you're only going to find success in both what you're putting out there and your audience if you're authentic. And the only way to be authentic is to actually cover things as you would talk about them privately as well.
Yeah, I know. Let's take a few steps back. So it's already, month 3 of Beyond the Front Row?
Kind
right?
of. Yeah,
Right?
it's
Three-ish?
gone through like 4 seasons in a matter of 8 weeks, give or take. It's gone
Right.
through a couple different variations. But yeah, I've been doing live streaming about music under the moniker Beyond the Front Row in one capacity or another for, I think it was since April or late March.
You kind of had an interesting situation with how it started, too, because you had told me before that you wanted to do, obviously, something like this. I think everyone's end goal at this point is we're all, me, you, Natasha, we're all obviously very capable of doing something in the capacity that we are, right? We've had enough experience. We know what we want to talk about. But to actually do it, you had been thinking about doing it, and then there was a moment and you got on social media, and I was watching and called him the day after, and I was like, dude, I think this is it. You're doing it. So what happened?
So yeah,
Why did it
to
start?
rewind, I had the idea of doing a podcast called Millennial Girls, and a podcast about the music industry in one
Really?
capacity or another, right? And I just didn't know when the right time was. I was under contract with a couple different companies where had I started anything with those companies, they would own the IP to it. And I think a lot of people are becoming, I hate this word, but are becoming very woke to the idea of what IP and intellectual property really means. Everything from Taylor Swift owning her masters to, people who own shows that try to sell shows or take them to other places. It started to become much more public how difficult that is and how hard it is to navigate doing your own thing when you're working with or for someone else. So anyway, I had this idea of a music podcast for a while, or an industry chat. And there was a series of tweets that caught my attention. It was a Sunday, I remember, about the whole Billboard scandal where they basically publicly discounted 5 Seconds of Summer, what should have been a #1 album. And now that a lot of data has come out to prove it, I can say without question would have been a #1 album. So it was coming across my attention, and people were tweeting me, and a lot of people that have followed me via iHeartRadio and via the different radio stations and TV networks that I worked for. I was like, oh my God, did you see this? And this stuff happens, mind you, literally every other day when there's some sort of scandal where an artist didn't get #1 or the fans feel like they were cheated out of something. And I was like, okay, yeah, okay. And then I looked into it a little bit and I went, wait, this is weird. And I texted a friend who worked for a label that isn't a representative label of Five Sauce, but I was like, hey, did you hear about this? And that person looked into it and went, oh, I see what happened here. Yeah, that's not cool. So then after I realized like, oh, there actually is something here, I tweeted out basically in support of it, saying like, hey, I don't know all the details here, but to me, it looks like this needs to be revisited. Billboard, you should absolutely at least put out a statement. And within, I want to say 20 minutes, not even, that tweet went to a couple thousand retweets and favorites. And it's not hard to gain that kind of traction when you're playing to a fan base if you're pandering, but I wasn't doing that. My tweet very clearly wasn't like, oh my God, 5 Sauce absolutely should have the #1. It was just, this is from my perspective. I don't think that this is being played out fairly. And the tweet started to get a lot of attention. I went, in my head, it kind of clicked. I was actually running social media for a freelance client at the time, who I almost texted and said like, hey, you should talk about this on your show. And then I kind of went, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to take this for myself. I'm sorry. And for what it's worth, I did eventually text that client and say like, hey, I'm talking about this as well. Maybe worth you visiting on your show tomorrow. That person opted not to. And they didn't.
Really?
Yeah, they didn't see the value in it, which... No hard feelings. This person, their lane isn't quite music or music production, so that wasn't exactly their thing, so that makes sense. But yeah, they didn't want to touch it. So I just decided to go live that night on Periscope. And I think the last time I had ever gone live on Periscope prior to that was like when Periscope launched, and there was this new fad of live streaming probably 3 or 4 years ago. And I ended up doing like a 2-hour live where I was just kind of like talking through what's going on with 5 Seconds of Summer and Billboard from a music industry perspective and what my initial thoughts are. And honestly, I was being very careful not to overly pander to the fandom, because I didn't want, if I want to get views, if I want to get attention, if I want likes, I can talk about BTS all day. I can talk about 5 Sauce and One Direction, and sometimes I do. That's part of my job. But that's not my goal. My goal is always to be an authority. You don't have to like me. You just have to respect what I'm saying about music. So I did that, and it did really well. I think a couple thousand views in real time, and then it went up to like 30 or 40,000 replays overnight. One of the reasons for that is because Michael Clifford's fiance, Crystal, ended up promoting it as well, which was very helpful. Thank you, Crystal. So then the next day,
Thanks.
Yeah, I've later since realized she actually works with one of my friends, and I have a tie to her that way, but I've never met her. I didn't know her prior to this. So that was cool. And the next day I said, okay, well, this is kind of a chance to basically start doing the podcast idea that I was talking about. And from there, to make a long story longer, I just kind of kept expanding on the idea of, is there interest in people? I'm firmly under the belief that fans of music fall into 2 categories. You have people that just like listening to music, or they like artists, or they like going to shows. And there's people that actually, they want to live and breathe it. And not just because they're infatuated with the artists themselves, but because they really do have a desire to be involved in music business. I had a long period of my life where I knew I wanted to work in music, but I didn't know how, because I'm not a good enough musician to do it. I like to drum, but I keep a beat. I can never go on tour. And I like to sing, but I'm a terrible singer. And I like the legalities of it, but I would never be able to be a lawyer. There's just too much paperwork. I would go crazy. The creative in me would cry. So it took a long time for me to realize and find my lane as a host and someone that got to work adjacent to music. And I think there's so many people like me that, they might not want to be a host, but they might not realize they can work in this thing they're so passionate about. And there's so many different ways to do it. And those are the kind of people that we're targeting with the audience. People that just, even if they don't want to work in it, they want to hear about it. They want to be around it,
Oh yeah. I mean, I feel like there's always that infatuation with music. And I mean, I was watching the Periscope when he first did it live, and I was like, Erik, please be so careful about what you say, just because of everything. You have to be careful about what you say. And I watched the whole thing, and I was honestly just looking at the comments, and I called him the next day, and I was like, Erik, like, this is it, basically. And we had a very long conversation about everything, and then it's taken off. It really has, and it's on YouTube Live now, and it's understandable. We're covering topics that are interesting, but they're not boring if you aren't interested in that artist. And I think that's normally why people lose interest in something. They're like, oh, it's not relatable. I don't care about 5 Seconds of Summer, or I don't care about Kanye or whatever. So you're doing a really great job of, covering all bases.
Right.
And I think that's something that is people need and people are loving. So when did you kind of have the moment of, okay, this is going to be something that's not just going to be a couple of episodes besides the Periscope, obviously, because that was the initial, okay, we've got something here.
You're not going to like this answer because you are very much involved. Full disclosure, by the way, Racquel's not like making this very clear. She is basically my number 2 on the show. So she helps run the show and she runs all the social media for it. And she's my co-host and all of that. But had come onto the project later. I did the first season or 2 on my own. Honestly, I truly didn't see the longevity. If I'm really looking back and being honest with myself, obviously I'm hopeful from day one, right? You're optimistic, and I'm a very optimistic person.
Yeah.
In general, but I didn't really feel that it could sustain more than just quarantine until last week or the week before last week, when we kind of really sat down and I got everyone involved that I really wanted involved on a weekly basis, and people that I trust with my life. And my business, quite frankly. And I went, okay, well, we're going to reformat this to be roundtable. It's going to be a heavily opinionated show, which originally it wasn't at all. That was the whole point, to be unbiased, but no one wants that anymore. And it's not even pandering to an audience. It's just, I had to kind of sit down and go, what I want to learn about music news from someone that's just trying so careful to tiptoe around every little thing. And like you were saying, I had to be very careful when I first started this because there's a fine line between explaining how something works and divulging trade secrets. And let's be clear, I don't have a non-disclosure agreement with any of my companies anymore. So I could really do whatever I want or say whatever I want, but it would just be a very bad reflection on me and blackball me in the industry as well.
Yeah.
And I didn't want that either. So yeah, to answer the initial or the question that you just asked, it wasn't until really recent in this whole adventure when I really went, okay, no, this can be sustainable. This can be something that, regardless of whether I'm working for a major corporation or not, and whether we're all in different parts of the world, we can still maintain this show on a weekly basis.
I agree with you, actually, about last week. I really do. And Natasha, I don't know if you watched last week yet, but it was one of those things.
Link, but you didn't send it to me. I don't know.
Search beyond the front row, Natasha. BTFRshow.com. I paid for a domain for this reason.
From the website, or is it linked in the Instagram?
Now you sound like my grandmother. Like, how can I watch your show thing that you do in the bedroom? You could go to the website. I'm being very what's the word? I'm obnoxious. Just BTFRshow.com.
Yeah. The way that I find out about the episode is when Racquel promotes it on her social, obviously.
Okay.
And then when I saw that it was there, I was like, how do I get to it? That was all I needed to know, and then I never got the answer, so I was like, okay, I didn't watch Fridays.
BTFRshow.com.
Last Wednesday, the actual show, we switched to YouTube Live. So Friday, our stream, that was on Twitch, and I was living my best life. Anyway.
So going into the show, when you say that you are now getting into like more, I don't know if you want to say controversial topics, but you're just being very opinionated, right? That's what you said.
Yeah.
You guys are being your opinion, you're completely honest. In this, initially you didn't want to go into it that way for a reason, right? So changing that dynamic, how do you protect yourself though? Like even for either of you going forward, like you said you don't want to tiptoe around topics, but how do you protect yourself still in the long run?
No, it's a great question. We're protected now because there's more than just one or two opinions. When it was just me, it can turn into let's call it what it is, like a Tucker Carlson kind of show, right? Like, I am a preacher of news. I can tell you everything you need to know. You need no other source. When you add a second person, obviously it can become a little less biased. But when you have 4 to 5 personalities that are all very different backgrounds and have different opinions, then it becomes a show that is much more equally balanced. And that's where I think that you can really start to introduce opinions in a way that doesn't come off as like, I'm selling you my snake oil and you have to believe it kind of thing.
Right.
For snake oil.
I don't know where that came from.
I have
yeah.
no clue,
yeah.
but
Okay.
Yeah, I'm definitely buying that one.
It's a phrase. It is.
No, it's great. Going back to phrases. What did you say last week, Racquel? the one that we were trying to figure out if it was like a real idiom or not?
And I sent it to Eric. I sent it to him, and he was like, "What are you saying?" The whistle.
Oh.
So official. All I need is a whistle. That's it.
When you said that to me, all I immediately thought of was the Seven Dwarfs from Snow White. That's the only, or Katie Tiz, because she has a song called Whistle. But that's literally the only two things that came to my mind.
Yeah, it was a Racquel.
So mine's a real phrase.
Yeah, that's
it's
what we
just
gotta call
old. Hers is a Racquelism. There's a difference.
Racquelism.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be hashtag Racquelism for another merch idea, Racquel. So
yeah.
One thing that I've always been very into, the opinionated, controversial, and like you said, you obviously saw that was grabbing traction. And so even in my case, like when I was on air or even talking on Millennial Girls, I still really do try to tiptoe around certain things that I say or make sure that I word it properly. Right?
Well,
but I applaud that because it's something that I've always been one to kind of do that extra step or go above. That's always just kind of been my personality. Mm-hmm. I'm more comfortable doing so, but I don't want to make others uncomfortable or somehow biting me in the ass down the line because you never know what's going to happen in the future. And like I said to Racquel too, it's like, I might have sent some pictures or I might have stuff on my Facebook from like 15 years ago or my Snapchat archives that I deleted that, I don't know.
Did you just admit to sending nudes 15 years ago? Do cameras even have, or phones even have cameras? Yeah, I guess they did.
But I wasn't on Snapchat 15 years ago, but I was on Facebook 15 years ago. And I was not sending nudes on Facebook, by the way, but.
That's all I'm hearing. Just because I feel like I keep cutting you off and you're formulating a new question, which is great. To clarify too, that's just because I said that, we don't want to tiptoe around everything, doesn't mean that we're not still using best case judgment when it comes to talking about sensitive topics or trade topics as well. Not even to divulge secrets and to protect that, but more so because if you really start talking about how streams are counted and how songs get added and what it means when something's impacting, you can, put it into layman terms to an extent, but you're gonna just, people's eyes will glaze over. My eyes glaze over when my label friends really get deep into how all those ratings and spins work. But yeah, it's a respect for the industry too. That is something that I've had to learn throughout my career, but especially recently doing this. It is so easy to misstep when you're live. So very easy that you really start to in your head go, okay, where do I want to go? What's the map? What am I willing to give away? What am I willing to just shut up about? And sometimes it comes down to, do I really know the answer to this, or am I just projecting what I think? Because I'm not an expert on the music industry. I don't know that any one person really is.
Right. No, that's definitely a good point. Because I always, like I said, like if something were to come out in the future, it's like, how do you handle the situation going forward, knowing now already with all this cancel culture that down the line you'll be okay? I mean, I guess you'll never guarantee that, but
there really is no way to know. I mean, and that's why when so many of these celebrities or artists or colleagues of ours are getting canceled, I really try to do my best to do my own research of why it's happening. If it's something that's more racist or unforgivable, that's a little bit different. But if it's something that at the time was culturally appropriate when it comes to talking about music or a person or something else, you have to have a little leeway. You can't just cancel someone because of something they did 10 years ago if they're a better person now. Now, if they made that same joke a week ago and they didn't learn from their mistakes, that's an issue. But, just as a person, humankind, you have a responsibility to do better and to self-reflect daily. And if you're not doing that, then absolutely cancel them. But I think most of us are trying our best to be our best person. At least I hope.
He gives you permission. No. He gives you permission to cancel.
That's not what I said.
So when you said earlier, no, I don't agree with it either. But when you said earlier that you always wanted to be in the music industry and you didn't really know how to navigate yourself. No, you knew how to navigate yourself, but you just didn't know like where you would end up because you're like, I don't have this talent or I don't have that talent musically. Did you still in your mind think like, oh, I could see myself being a host? Or...
I think I started saying I'm the next Ryan Seacrest out loud, which I understand is a very, very ballsy thing to say. And I don't stand by that sentence anymore. But because there is no next Ryan Seacrest. Like, there's a next Erik Zachary, hopefully. But, you know, I started saying that. I mean, my running joke was I'm going to be the next Ryan Seacrest with less highlights, which is wild because I can't be him and I had highlights. So it doesn't matter.
I was going to say, I even texted him last night. I was like, you should get highlights again.
I started.
I was like, stalking him.
I started saying that, though, I think sophomore year of high school. So it was pretty early on that I figured out almost to a T the direct lane that I wanted to thrive in, right? What I was referring to when I said, you know, I didn't know exactly where I was going to land is when you realize in 7th grade that you want to be in music, but you're not a musician. And how can you prepare for that, right? Because the only other, like, well-known way to prepare for music is to get singing lessons or get guitar lessons or join a band or join choir. And I did all of those things, but I knew in the back of my head I was never going to be the star as far as the musician aspect of it went. And that was like the tough time is from 7th grade to like sophomore year, trying to figure out and navigate. I feel like I'm in the right place, and I was in theater and I felt like I was in the right place, but I didn't like the acting part of it either. I loved being on stage and I couldn't peg it. It was a weird feeling. I loved saying something and getting a reaction, but I knew I wasn't a comedian. And I loved making a joke and seeing people smile, but I knew that I didn't always want to be the center of attention, believe it or not.
Really?
So that was a really hard time for me to
Ryan
get through.
Seacrest.
Yeah. So I kind of pegged the name myself. I haven't said this a lot lately, but I used to for a very long time say I want to be spotlight adjacent. Love the attention. I just want to be able to step out of the spotlight at any given time, which Ryan Seacrest, as much as a fame magnet he really is, and I mean just true talent as well. I'm a fan, obviously. He really can avoid paparazzi and just go live a life too, to the best of his within reasonable, you know, abilities, where a lot of celebrities and megastars can't.
That's all to you. I mean, screw it. Why not? Why not shoot for the stars and see what the outcome is for you? And hopefully it's greatness, of course. And now that you have your own show that's basically, you know, run by you, you're, you know, producing everything. Is there any moment in your career, maybe outside of your own show now, Beyond the Front Row, that was like the peak for you, or that you were just like, this was my moment?
MTV, for sure. I mean, I got a call from a casting executive, not even director, from Viacom that said, you're going to be the next Carson Daly, which obviously ultimately that didn't end up happening. But just to hear someone say those words with that much power, I mean, think of the most important person you've ever met in within your career from a business perspective, not someone famous, just someone that has real power. And she says this to you on the phone, like, you don't forget that. And I mean, there's parts of me that can fall into the category of, oh, I miss it, sure, or oh, I wish it would have played out a little bit different. But also, those words don't go away. And if anything, for someone like me, my personality type, they just fuel you, because you go, I got at once, I can get that again. So yeah, absolutely. The peak is getting flown out to New York to audition in Times Square in front of a glass studios, 2nd level, and seeing people up holding signs. Like, that will never go away. And even if I never make it beyond the front row and never do anything again, that can never be taken away from me. So that's something I'm so very truly grateful for.
I can't even. I would have cried. Like, did you cry? I would have cried.
I did not fully process my emotions until I had already moved there. I did remember crying out of happiness once, but it was so far after the fact of me already getting the gig and having my apartment in New York, because everything else was such a blur. But yeah, there was a level of like emotional success in my head for sure.
Yeah,
I remember when I was 10 years old and I went to New York for the first time with my family, and I was walking through there and I was looking up at the MTV studios, and I was like, I really wish I could be up there. Like, that was like, it's fun. I'm wearing my MTV hat right now, by the way, if you guys are watching on YouTube. But yeah, it was again, like, I was never like, my goal in life is to be a host either. I mean, of course I was passionate about music as well, and I still, even now, miss being on the radio, what I was doing before, obviously starting Millennial Girls and COVID. Yeah, I mean, even though, you know, there might be rough patches and stuff, I still miss it too. Like, because it was that same feeling of validation. And not only that, like what you said, where it's like, you like having the spotlight and the attention, but then being able to go away when you need to. And then at the same time, it's, you know, having that reaction, like you said. So like making people laugh but you're not a comedian. Like I know exactly what you mean because that's how I feel too. Right. I'll never forget standing outside of the studios, and I was just like, I really wish to be up there. I never got to go up though.
That's really funny that you say that, because a lot of people, when they announced TRL and they said TRL is coming back and they announced us as host, a lot of people, you could tell, were faking that they knew what TRL was, but it really was a long time ago. TRL was in its heyday in like 99 to 03. Like even we were a little young for it. But I do remember. Oh, yeah, we were young. I do remember watching it. But there's so many people that when I got, they're like, "Oh, I got it. I remember going home from school and watching it." I'm like, "You're 20 right now. There's no way that you remember doing that when you were 3 years old. Like, go away." But it is funny.
No, it was our age group.
But I would argue it's actually even a little older than our age that really watched it in its prime.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, it did go through, I think it was 07 or 08 on its first run. So it was still on TV, but it wasn't Carson Daly at that point. That's when they started introducing all the other hosts. No, but it's funny you said looking up and looking for that second floor, because it didn't fully, I get the question a lot, when did it click that you were actually auditioning for MTV? And I mean, it clicks pretty fast when they send a black car for you and you go to the airport. That was very cool. But
you're like, this is it.
They put me up at a hotel.
I made it.
Yeah, it wasn't until I stayed at the Millennium Hotel right across the street from Viacom. Viacom owns this massive building right in Times Square. So like the MTV studios are on the second floor, but they own that entire building. And I'm walking across the street to 1515 Broadway, and I remember visiting New York so many times, once being like 8 months prior to this audition, and always looking at that second floor. And, you know, because TRL ended when it did, those studios, even though part of them still remained standing, they'd lower the curtains, and you would know they were filming if the curtains were up. That was the way that you could always know TRL was happening or they were shooting something there. And I remember only seeing the curtains up like once when I was like 10, like you know what you were saying. And I was crossing the street and I looked up and the curtains were up and the studio lights were on. And that's when it clicked to me. I'm getting chills like retelling it to myself right now because I haven't.
Yeah,
so crazy. I know. I'm like,
that's when it clicked to me that, oh, wow, not only are you auditioning for MTV, you're auditioning in the old TRL studio. Like, what? Because when, I don't know if I mentioned this, it wasn't called TRL. They didn't tell us that when we were auditioning for it. They went by a different name. It wasn't even supposed to be, or at least maybe it was the grand scheme of things, but it wasn't told to us that it was going to be called TRL until we found that out like in August. It's crazy. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And when did it premiere? September?
The premiere was October 3rd, I think. Whatever that Monday was of 2017. Oh. Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. I couldn't even imagine. Like, that is one of the, you're never going to forget that your entire life, ever. It's etched into your memory. That's crazy. It's
part of life's journey for sure. And I mean, it's kind of wild to have like the peak of what I would define my career success also mixed with like absolutely the biggest slice of humble pie that I've ever been served, to get something and then have it taken away from you and then kind of get like an alternative route from it. And, you know, ultimately I'm very thankful for how everything played out. And I did get lucky, and I did get to stay with a really awesome company for 2.5 years, and I'm still on good terms with all of them. And I would love to work with them again in the future. But, you know, it didn't play out how, you know, this golden emerald city that are those conflicting colors, but you get the idea. Like this very beautiful like painting was told to me, and then it didn't work out that way. And that's not to anyone's fault. It didn't happen that way. And you know, there's always going to be part of you that's like, oh, why? I'm frustrated. I'm not even mad. I'm frustrated. Why? And then part of you is like, well, it's probably for the best. You know, everyone, I'm a firm believer in any kind of person that has any real success needs to be taken down quite a few pegs. And I've had my misfortunes within my career, don't get me wrong, but until you have a real setback like that, you don't know what it is. And if you just continue to get successes after successes after successes, that's how we have these crazy stories of celebrities and really successful people having tragic endings because, you know, they weren't able to process everything healthily. So, yeah,
no, for sure.
It's hard. It's hard. Yeah, it's hard to think about, but yeah.
Free Britney, please.
For sure.
Really though.
Yeah.
No, so we were talking about MTV TRL having a goosebump moment, Chilly Willy, and
Chilly Willy.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You're going to come for me for snake oil and her for a whistle to make authority, and you're going to say Chilly Willy like that's normal 2020 conversation?
Chilly Willy.
Who are you to come for me? What is that?
I didn't come for you. I was like, oh, okay, snake oil, I'll buy it.
No, okay.
Listen.
See, that's passive aggressively coming for me.
Okay, passive aggressive with a smile on. So,
Manipulatively passive aggressive.
So is that what being?
Actually,
is that narcissist?
That would be, I guess.
I don't know. I fall into all of
narcissist.
those categories,
Eric's
so
like-
I'm the first one. It's me.
No, what I wanted to ask is, so you said highlight moment for you was being told that you'd be the next Carson Daly, and for you being a fan, obviously, of MTV and TRL as we were. Did you think oh my God, I'm not going to meet up to that? Oh, I'm going to be better than this guy? Because I remember when Carson was
never the
taking
confidence.
off,
Yeah.
I was like, there's no TRL's over, Carson Daly's gone. That's what I thought when it had first ended, right? And I was like, there's nobody going to top Carson Daly. You can't relaunch TRL. So I'm curious.
What people
thoughts.
forget is Carson wasn't even. I don't think he was even the longest running host on TRL. He was just the one that kind of launched it, that everyone remembers, because in all of these throwback clips, and now you're seeing it more than ever, like when someone like Britney or Timberlake or someone might be doing a throwback, or Jonas Brothers, they show those clips from early TRL, and so it's always his face, right? Don't quote me on that. He might have been, he's either tied for or still not the longest running host, but it wasn't even it wasn't even being told I'm next to Carson Daly. It was truly just being told I got the job, right? Because I am so not a confident person when it comes to my own abilities.
Really?
It's weird because I have this, it's super weird and super dark and probably a therapist's dream to break down, but I know I'm very good at what I do, right? I'm told that by a lot of people, and I watch back my stuff like any athlete watches any of their tapes, right? And I can pick out what I'm doing good and what I'm doing bad, but I am absolutely hands down my own worst critic. And whenever it comes to getting the job, I almost always assume I'm not going to. It's just easier for me to process.
Well, I think, once you, I'm the same way. I'm literally my own worst critic and biggest, and it's self-sabotaging at some point. You have to kind of get out of that mind. Fuck.
To answer Natasha's question properly, it was absolutely, when am I going to live up to this? It wasn't even that. It wasn't a fear of living up to Carson Daly, because I knew off the bat the show that we were cast to do wasn't the same exact TRL. It had a different formula, different layout, everything than the original. My fear was other people perceiving all of us, not just myself. I mean, Tamara, Amy, Lawrence, DC, and myself all trying to be that, when in fact we were trying to be the complete opposite from that.
Yeah,
that was always a fear that to some extent became a reality, because there was a lot of negative press before we even launched, just because people love to be cynics, myself included. I'm not being a hypocrite here, but people love to be critical before even giving something a shot. So because of that, it was a very tumultuous. How do you say that?
Tumultuous.
I speak for a living.
Whoa, Eric.
It was a very hard time to navigate through that as well. That was a mindset too. Is not just proving to yourself that you're good, but proving to other people that this is something worth watching.
Well, that's also a lot of pressure too, because knowing that you're going in with that same name. I mean, if they would have called it something else, you guys probably wouldn't have gotten so much backlash either. So
that's definitely one way to look at it. I want to be careful,
right?
Because I try to keep not even just from a perspective of I don't want to say anything bad about it. I'm not afraid of that. I try to constantly remind myself that I'm so grateful to get to do what I got to do.
Yeah, no,
for so long. But yeah, I agree. I think in retrospect, I think it could have had a better shelf life if it had a different name attached to it, for sure.
I remember reading the press release when TRL came back, because I always say, whenever anyone's like, how did you know what you wanted to do? And I always knew I wanted to do the dance thing, the backup dancer thing, but I always knew at some point I wanted to do the hosting and be a personality. And I always say, as soon as I watched TRL, like Carson Daly, when he was interviewing Britney Spears and NSYNC, I wanted to be the person asking the questions. And I mean, for me, it was from a dance background, obviously dancing and listening to so much music and getting to know the artist. I was always so infatuated. So for me, that's why it was that. But I remember when the press release came out, I was looking at everyone, and I remember watching it and being like, well, I want to see what this is all about. Like, blah, blah, blah. And
So,
what?
can I just, you've already told me this, and you're probably, I'm hoping, going to give me a compliment, which I'm very thankful for.
Yes.
But before you get there, that attitude that you just expressed,
right.
You asked me just as like a friend conversation, were girls throwing themselves at me or like trying to use me because of the fame. And while there was some of that, the most fake people that would try to reach out to me were radio personalities. The amount of on-air personalities that reached out in kind of a, hey, you don't know me, but I've been a fan for a very long time, and I'm just wondering, how did you do this?
Okay.
Yeah, they're talking about me, but yeah, and they're like, how did you get cast? What did you do? Do you have an agent? Like, when did you audition for this? Do they need more hosts? And it's like, that is, if you can't on face value see how hard and how harsh that comes off through a DM, through someone you don't know, it was ridiculous. And I will never forget, there was one, which I'll tell you in private who this person was, but that sent one of those type DMs. It was someone I had actually talked to like once or twice before that, but I was never a crazy radio guy. Like I was very fortunate to be involved in iHeart for as long as I did, but I didn't make an effort to like know all of the radio personalities, and a lot of people do, to each their own. But this person accidentally sent me a DM that was meant for someone else talking about me.
No.
Because it was literally the DM that was like, oh my God, congratulations. I always knew you would make it. This is so cool. Would love to chat. Let me know when you can hop on the phone. And then the follow-up message was, I can't believe this MFer got this position. Like, he's not even that good.
No.
He's such a suck up to iHeartRadio. I guarantee this is a back deal for something.
Shit.
And this is before you could like take the message back on Instagram, before you could like resend it. And they literally unfriended me and blocked me immediately once I showed red.
No!
Because they were out of embarrassment.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Okay, see, but
And
then that's
And also
also
work for
that's also
radio
something
station.
you have to deal with too, and I feel like people don't get that either. So you're dealing with, like, when you're putting up content, you're dealing with the people who are gonna say, who have no idea who you are, just being mean and being rude. And then you have your own colleagues too who are jealous, who are doing that as well.
Yeah.
It just,
Plus I never even thought about this. I've never really talked about this publicly, but I really was fortunate. And I'm not just trying to be like, oh my God, I had such a great time, but I was really fortunate to be surrounded by such an amazing team at MTV, right? Especially my digital team as well. But the thing that I couldn't get past and was kind of like a mind F to me was all of my producers, not all, but I would say a majority of my producers wanted to do what I was doing. And their internship led them to be a producer as opposed to a talent. And that's kind of hard too. I struggle with making sure that I'm expressing gratitude to someone that's producing me or helping me or directing me. But for some reason, my personality lends itself that I'm being, disingenuous. Like I'm saying it just to say it. And I promise I'm not. And so I constantly am so in my head of, did I say thank you too many times? Did they think I'm just like,
thank you,
pumping
like,
their tires for no
whatever.
reason? Yeah. And, or if you don't say it at all, do they think that you're just like ungrateful? And that was a constant struggle too, because all of those people I work with, I have so much, if not more respect for than some of my colleagues from not that show, but just that I've worked with in radio and stuff, because these producers are so talented and work such long hours and do so much of the heavy lifting. And obviously it's a very often thankless job, which sucks. And I know it now because I spent the better half of last year producing, sometimes for myself, but for some other people as well. And it's just one of those things where it's like, it's a necessary evil. If you really want to understand the business, you have to do it. At some point, you have to produce for someone else. But it's definitely hard. It's hard if you have an affinity to be on camera and to not get to do it.
No, I'm glad you said that, because I've dealt with that issue too when I worked at the Panthers, because obviously it's such a big team and it's different than television, but it's still live entertainment in front of 18,000 people, and there's so many moving parts, obviously. And I would always, be saying thankful and, oh my God, thank you so much. And this, and it's the same kind of thing, because then you hear people saying, oh, she's just being fake. And I've had people come up to me and be like, you're way nicer than I thought you were. I've heard blah, blah. I'm like, what have you heard? Like, I think I'm being very, grateful and generous and appreciative. But then you have that happen too. And you're just like, wait, what? Like, now am I not supposed to be grateful and just keep to myself, and then people are going to still think that?
What I've figured out is, and this isn't always, but 9 out of 10 times the people are saying, I've heard that you were this way. That's just a metaphor for them saying, I thought you were this way.
Right,
and I'm afraid to admit that I was the one that thought that. But I want to let you know how nice you actually are. Because I've dealt with that, yeah.
I remember the first time someone said that to me, I was like, huh? Because if you know me, Eric and Natasha, I'm such a goofball. Like, I am really in real life. Like, I'm a unicorn, glitter, sparkles, like, so grateful and thankful for all the things I've gotten to do in my career as well. So when someone says that to you, you're like, what? Like, you feel like you're punched in the face. You're like, wait, am I coming off this way? And you're like, do I have to change my whole persona now? It's one of those things. It's very tricky, guys.
And we're not, I hope this isn't coming out. It probably absolutely is coming off this way. But just don't think that just because we're hosts or we do this day in, day out, that we're trying to say that our problems are so real because of it. Because this can be applied to any business, any career, any job. You can get 9,000 people telling you did something perfectly, but if one person is critical, that's the person you're going to remember. So, I mean, I remember one of my first shows, I had so many people patting me on the back and a lot of people saying you made it. And it gets to a point that you don't want to hear that anymore, because you just automatically assume that they're doing that out of, immediate reflex, not even it being organic or genuine. Right. So then when you do hear something critical, even if it's meant to be constructive, it's really hard initially to process that and not be too hard on yourself. And if you don't struggle with that, that's when you're a narcissist.
Yes.
That's the difference. That's the difference. Because I've worked with a few of those people, and they're all very talented, but those are people that just, they cannot be told otherwise, and they do not understand and cannot process as to why they're even being told this in the first place.
Oh, totally. And I was going to say, I mean, going back to the, me being hesitant on TRL and what was happening, I remember watching, and Eric knows this, I've said this to him before, watching the first episode and specifically saying to my mom, he's super talented, about Eric. And I think, obviously, they had so many different hosts, so many different people could kind of relate to different, personalities. And I mean, I think it worked, obviously, for sure. And I've even told Natasha this before about watching the episode. And now we're here. And for just to kind of, put it to bed in a very positive light, I am really, truly so proud of that initial cast of the 5 hosts that were cast together. And I'll never forget the joke. I could never get away with this, but I can repeat it. I feel comfortable. And DC Youngfly is formerly of Wild and Out, and an amazing talent and comedian and host in of itself, and rapper and director. He does like 9,000 things. We were in our ethics and appropriation meeting. So it was, learning like what you can and can't say on the air and everything. And I mean, if you don't know, I had 4 co-hosts. So it was DC Youngfly, Tamara Dia, Lawrence Jackson, and Amy Pham, and myself. All different ethnicities, all different genders. And we walked in, and it's just us sitting there with the HR team. And DC goes, man, we're a math problem. And I said, what? He goes, you ever open one of those math books in like 8th grade, and they just like tried so hard to make it like one of each color and name? And I went, oh my God, you're so right. But I mean, it was really well done. It was really well casting. And it wasn't casting just for how we looked or who we were. It was casting based off of how we worked together. And we had chemistry testing. I had 2 auditions, and the second audition was solely for the purpose of trying different fits together and seeing to make sure everyone could bounce off each other properly. Those need to happen more
That's
often.
Super interesting. That's super interesting. That's cool that it comes together that way, though, right?
It's not a secret that Hollywood, and I'm using Hollywood as an overall umbrella for entertainment, but that, they do miscast a lot, or they cast solely based off of looks or to fit a stereotypical quota or something. And although at initial appearance, one could make that case. It really wasn't that. It was more coincidental that it was that, because we all really were the best fit to bounce off of each other. But it's just, in retrospect, to look back and I'm like, damn, he nailed that. He
right.
nailed that. Yeah.
That's so funny. All right, Erik, what was your first, we asked this question to almost everyone, what was your first concert?
I thought that was going to be a much more like, who was your first? My first concert was NSYNC, Pop Odyssey, July 21st, 2001, Soldier Field, Chicago. I still have the ticket stuff.
And you wore your bandana too.
I did wear my bandana, and I wore a reflective. I don't know if I wore the bandana to the concert.
Okay.
I might have gotten tired about the bandana by the concert. But yeah, I frequently dressed like Justin Timberlake, or how I thought Justin Timberlake. I had my grandmother, who's an amazing seamstress, sew sequins into the bandana. So.
Oh my God, stop. Wait,
I'm
are you
dead
going to
serious.
send us a picture so I can put it into the YouTube, please? Thank you.
I could probably track one down. I know my mom actually made a really beautiful collage of the ticket stubs and pictures of us at the concert, and it's in a picture frame, but that's in my storage unit in Manhattan. But I can see if I can track something down. But I do something I've never publicly admitted to. Yes. Walt Disney World. You guys are from Florida. You remember Pleasure Island, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it used to be like it's what's now Disney Springs and formerly Downtown Disney, but it used to be nightclubs that kids could go into with their parents, and then some were adults only and whatnot. They had a store where you could go and film a music video in front of a green screen, and they used like the actual visuals from the real music video.
I remember
and there
this.
is
I remember
definitely a tape of me singing.
Stop.
Actually singing, trying to, with a headset microphone and dancing to Pop by NSYNC. Yeah.
Stop it! Oh my God, can you like, do they send it to you, or how does it, or they just like, it's just
well
there?
Back then the internet wasn't much of a thing, Natasha, so it was on what we call now VHS tapes. Yes, but I do have it.
No, really,
in
wasn't it on a
some form.
VHS?
They sent it?
How old are you? Can I ask you that question?
I'm 29. It's lagging a little bit.
So you're older than me. So how do you not remember cassettes and tapes? And yeah, they didn't set it on the internet back then. Dropbox wasn't around.
Dropbox.
I thought you said 2001.
Yeah. When do you think Dropbox became a thing? 2001 was still like
have to be Dropbox.
like the dial-up tone. You know how long it would take to send a video clip? Natasha, it used to take like 6 minutes to download one MP3. And half the time it was on Kaza, and you would get the fake pirate would be like, I did not have sexual relations with that woman. It wasn't the song you wanted to hear. All you wanted was to hear the latest Nelly Furtado drop. And what?
No, that was every time I would download a song on LimeWire. Sorry, I did that.
Yeah.
Yes. That's what I would get. First of all. Second of all, I'm
allegedly.
from California.
Always
by the
say
way. I'm
allegedly.
Not from Florida, so I don't know this Pleasure Island.
Oh.
I thought they had one in Disneyland too. I don't know where you're from. I'm sorry, but yeah. So like, yeah. So but you've been to Disney since, and you've been to like Disney Springs.
Because I've never. No, but I haven't. I've been to Disney. Like I've been to Magic Kingdom, but I don't know that stuff. So Pleasure Island. When you said that, I was like, wait, what? Pleasure Island?
Yeah, it was a really.
Wait, what is going on? VHS tapes.
It was a really cool concept.
It was.
Okay,
it was fun.
VHS tapes has nothing to do with Disney or Pleasure Island. That is not an excuse. I'm assuming they had VCRs in California as well. No.
Yes.
I'm dead.
Thank you. I appreciate your honesty.
I'm so glad this is just not on me today. Wow, guys. This is a really.
She did it to herself. I spent the first 3 quarters.
What?
I spent the first 3 quarters of this like trying to be the best guest and not go off on anyone. And I'm sorry, you're trying to forget VHS culture and how painful it was to like see that tape unwind and you would never be able to watch it again. You don't know. You don't know the struggle. You call yourself a millennial girl?
Oh, here we go.
First of all, I know what a VHS tape is. Second of all, I was just asking if they would send you the file of you dancing or whatever, or if it's just like archived somewhere in this Pleasure Island.
It's like an underground.
They just have this library of children dancing.
God.
That sounds. That's
not good.
That can get bad, really bad. Yeah.
Oh, this is great.
And then Jeffrey Epstein went there a lot. Sorry, bad joke. Yeah, no, you would get the tape, the like cassette VHR or VCR, VHS, whatever the fuck it's called, right away after recording it.
VCR and television. Oh my god, that's great though.
With Mickey.
In retrospect, I actually do remember like after you recorded it, you had to wait for like an hour and come back and get your tape because that's how long it took to like burn the tape for you.
I definitely have one.
DVDs like didn't become a thing until like 99 or 2000. And even then they didn't immediately replace VHS.
Yeah, 9. Sorry, I'm trying to do the math. I'm like, how old was I then? Like, yeah.
Where was I? Where am I now?
Got it.
10.
Got it.
You were 10. I'll do
I
the
was
math.
just, I have a problem with when someone tells me like 2001 versus 2011, for some reason, I get like those 10 years. I don't know why.
They're all mixed up in your head.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Like, I think, I'm like, oh, I was 21. Wait, no, I was 11. Like, wait, hold on. So, yeah.
Take away 10 years.
You were born in 90?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. You were 10 in 2000. Just, I'll give you Millennial Girls Millennium 10. Just, there you go. Done.
Oh my god.
I'm here to help.
I definitely have a similar dancing video somewhere. And NSYNC was my first concert, so.
Nice. Which
Bam.
tour?
I don't remember.
Pop Odyssey or Celebrity?
I
No
was
Strings Attached?
7. You do the math.
Our first tour was
So it was probably No Strings Attached.
Album. No, it was the first album. I
Their-
think
their-
self-titled.
Their first album was I think that was just a self-titled tour.
Yeah, it was self-titled.
NSYNC?
That's the one that I went to. I don't know about Racquel.
I don't know, but I remember what I wore.
Yeah,
I like how
I remember what I wore. But I was 10 when I went to the
Yeah,
NSYNC
I
at
don't.
Soldier Field.
Both of you remember. You were like sequins and reflective clothing. I was just screaming with the girls for the first time. Like, I don't.
Yeah, Natasha still gets made
I feel like
fun of to this day.
Yeah, I
about
feel
that.
like everyone's first, if they went to like a real tour or a real concert, it was either NSYNC, Britney Spears, Spice Girls,
Spice
maybe
Girls.
Destiny's Child. Like depending where you fell within, like from 98 to 2002. If you got to go to a first major tour, it was one of those things. Or you went with like your parents to Foo Fighters. I've heard that a lot too. Or like one of those kind of shows.
I've heard that too.
I think that was Trace's first concert.
Really?
Yeah. Like there was a lot of kids that like went with like their dad to like a concert, like a rock concert or something, you know? I've heard a lot of people that like saw like Def Leppard. Can you imagine seeing Def Leppard when you're 10?
I would fall asleep probably. Or just
You would not. You would definitely not fall asleep.
Or just
pour some sugar on me.
Oh, true. Oh my god. Oh my god, that song. I never told
Yeah.
Eric that, but I auditioned. They shot Rock of Ages down here.
Racquel has a different kind of tape to pour some sugar on me that she used for a video.
Anyway,
For a different
no.
kind of pleasure.
No.
For a different kind of pleasure island.
Wait. Let's unpack that. What?
Cut me off. I'm done.
Where's the tequila shot? I think it's time for the shot.
I need to go get it. Can you?
Yeah,
can
I
you
have to go get it
magically
too,
edit.
so-
All right, here we go. And edit.
I'm gonna tell my story.
Right back.
I'm gonna walk away while we go get the shots. Raquel's gonna tell you all about it.
Basically, Rock of Ages. She's laughing. Rock of Ages shot the movie down here in like 2011, and I was still too young to audition. But I don't know if I just went anyway. And the audition song was "Pour Some Sugar on Me." So I was with all these dancers that were dressed in 80s rock clothes, and I don't even remember. I feel like Adam Shankman there? Someone like that was there. And it was just one of my first like real auditions, dance auditions, and I was like, "Oh, let's go." And it was such a crazy experience. I didn't get it cuz I was too young, but you know. She's ready.
Are you talking to yourself?
Yeah,
You're keeping the podcast going while we're gone.
Yeah.
Raquel's like, "Finally, I can tell my story now. He's gone."
Literally without being harassed.
Yeah. I don't know what this is definitely not a shot
What
glass.
is that?
I think
What
that's what they
is
call
that?
gimlets.
Is that like the Russian
I think it's a
thing?
gimlet. No, my grandma's very Austrian and German from her background, and she would go out drinking in Chicago when she was like 20, because it was legal then. But she would always talk about getting like gin and vodka gimlets, and I think that's what this is.
Well,
I don't know. It's the most accessible thing.
Right, and I also have this is like one of those beer taster flights or whatever.
Oh, God.
So it's not a shot glass
How
either.
big is that? Okay, if you're listening to the podcast and not visually seeing this, that is like, that's a whole ass glass of tequila.
I think I poured too much because it's
You
not an
think?
actual shot glass.
That's from best estimate. I've seen this very far away, but it looks like at least 8 ounces. and a shot's 3.
Did I do double?
Oh my
bad.
god! Does it say Yeezy? What does it say?
Oh God.
It's
a
a
Yeezy glass?
Yeezy glass.
Oh God, Eric.
Don't get me started on
Don't
Kanye.
get him
All right,
started
hang on.
on-
I want to get this sound to prove she probably just poured water in there. That's how we know it's fake. But
He opened that bottle. I'm
Well, if
drinking
you're watching
lemon
on
water.
YouTube, yeah, she's having digestion issues, so I have my tequila
It's
bottle.
okay.
If you're watching on YouTube, and
I drank enough
showing you
Friday.
guys. Here, this bottle is so beautiful.
oh my god, this is so fragrant. It is
Oh, are we gonna-
2:17
Whoa, what happened
on
to
a
your audio?
Monday in Chicago. I'm
Wait,
still here.
what?
Can you hear me?
Hello, I hear him.
You got me? Yeah.
Eric?
I hear you guys.
I hear her and him.
I don't hear anyone anymore.
She
Hold
lost
on.
us.
Okay, shot time.
All right, let's do the shot. Oh man, I don't even have
Oh.
my chaser's iced coffee.
Oh.
Actually espresso.
Oh,
Worse.
God, you're gonna have a heart attack.
I'm good. Let's go.
I might sip this, okay?
Natasha, salute.
Salute.
Cheers.
Salute.
Cheers.
Cheers.
My lemon water.
Ah! I just spilled it on my leg.
Woo! What? How?
I spilled
That was
part of it on
planned.
my leg.
You're the girl that like a rando buys a shot in the bar and you're like, thank you, and you throw it up your
That's
shoulder.
me.
No,
That's me.
I'm the girl that sips
That's
on the
Racquel.
shot.
I've done it.
No, Natasha's like, no, I take the free alcohol. Let's be fair.
I
just
have
sip it.
done that.
I take the alcohol and then I say I have a boyfriend.
Okay,
have
I'm
done
gonna
that
have one more.
so many times. I can't wait.
I'm not doing another shot. I did one warm tequila shot at
that's fine. You don't have
2:18
to
on
have
a
another
Monday
one.
afternoon. I have
You
a
don't have to have
conference
another.
after this.
Whatever.
I just have.
First
I'm
of
gonna
all,
finish the one that I have because I overpoured
Okay.
myself.
Jesus Christ. I cannot wait to meet you guys in person.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
1, 2,
Wait,
3.
Eric, I have to tell you this story. I had a dream last night that we actually met in real life, and it was we were in LA, and we were filming the show, and we were frantically yelling at each other like, oh my god, something's happening, blah, blah, blah. Something must have been going wrong. And then we both took a step back and we're like, wait, and we hugged and we're like, oh my god, you're real. And then I woke up and I was like, what? So we had,
So my only takeaway of this is that Raquel dreams about me.
oh boy.
Be very clear.
Here, and great.
I feel
Now
like I'm
we're-
having deja vu. Did we talk about this on the live?
To be clear, that's not a beer. This is a LaCroix. I'm not drinking more.
Thank you
I
for-
guarantee someone listening is like, did he just open a beer? I wish.
Oh my god, yeah, same. Okay. Well, this was fun. I feel like that was deja vu. I don't know if you said that on the live or not, and but
Which
anyways.
wait, yeah, I mean,
The dream, because when you said it the first time, I think you said it on our IG live when we did it all together. And the first time you said it, and this time, I thought you were talking about the real thing, and then I realized it was a dream. So
I don't know.
Sorry, Raquel. It's a very sweet dream. I can't wait to meet you in
it's
person.
a very sweet dream
Eye roll.
Very kind.
Eye roll.
on
can't
Pleasure Island, and we're all gonna dance to In Sync together.
No, I don't attend Pleasure Island anymore. That's Raquel's thing for Def
The
Leppard
three
song.
of us need to dance an In Sync choreography with these old outfits that you guys remember.
Oh my god,
No,
yes.
You guys, you can't keep up. We gotta do a different song. I don't care how good of a dancer you are. You'll see it happen. And you go,
I've seen the
can't do this. I'm
videos.
sorry.
I've seen them. I've seen them.
I don't care
They're
how
real.
good of a dancer you are or not. You're going front and center with your reflective pants on, and we're gonna be in the background doing the Macarena. I don't know, but
The Macarena.
This is how I know you don't know me in person yet, because you say that like that's gonna persuade me to not. Of course.
Oh, no,
I'm
no,
the
no.
leader here. I will
no,
be
I'm
front and
saying it
center,
because
and I'll
we're
count
doing
it
it.
out in 5, 6, 7, 8.
8.
Yeah,
Let's
Exactly.
go.
done.
It was a pleasure, Mr. Eric Island.
Yep.
Exactly. Hashtag Pleasure Island on
Thank
this
you.
one.
All right, we
But you
say
guys
peace.
Thank
Make
you
sure-
for having me, guys.
Make sure to follow Eric. Plug yourself.
Just follow Raquel. She tweets about me a lot and dreams about me too. So you'll see my handles from there. No, it's ERIKZ on all socials, and then Beyond the Front Rows at BTFRshow.com or BTFR Show on social medias.
I can't get over the dreaming part. Tequila shot.
Apparently neither
Second
can she.
tequila shot.
I hate you.
Okay, you guys, make sure to listen to the podcast. Millennial Girls, of course, we're on Instagram. Follow us there for all of our new episodes. We release every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern, and we're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio app, and of course YouTube if you're watching here. We'll see you in the next one. And what
Peace,
we say
love,
here
unicorns.
is...
Peace, love, unicorns. Eric, you have to say it.
Do I have to?
Yes, you have to.
Yes.
I don't.
Do it.
Peace, love, and unicorns.
Woo!
Hey.
That's getting posted on his birthday. All right, bye, guys.
Bye.